Gamaliel, along with Nicodemus, Joseph of Arimathea, and one or two others, seem to have a certain goodwill in the Pharisaic and Judaic bloc, wanting to follow what secretly they know to be right. And he gives good advice. He warns that they should let things unfold, lest, as he put it, they might find themselves fighting against God. It is a good principle when trying to discern whether a movement is from God or from the human or from the diabolic. One observes, in fact the Lord gave the clue, by the fruits you will know them. It is true with regard to temptations within the spiritual life, discernment from on high when it comes to people who believe that they are being led, but might not be led by a safe force. This can happen not only within Christianity, but also outside its parameters. We have had, over the centuries, various religions that have sprung up. But God is not divided, and there is only one truth. Fundamental logic is our participation in the wisdom of the divine, which is not divided. Our faith is wise and serene because it is based on something greater than ourselves, not within our mind. And so if someone comes to claim that he has had a revelation, it has to be looked at carefully, asking which of these three sources is involved: God, the devil, or man. The devil can actually use a soul who is in goodwill but not led by the correct force, so as to upset what is. In other words, the devil can, as St. Paul warns us when writing to the Corinthians, disguise himself as an angel of light. It has happened and still will happen, even within vocation. Get them out of where they are with an illusion of something higher. Get them out of where they are. And so, ordination, profession is all stopped by some great phantasmagorical carrot. One can be fighting against God as a bishop, as an abbot, as a spiritual father, if one actually pushes away, on the contrary, something which genuinely is from the Spirit of God. A movement, a foundation can be blocked by purely human prudence without reference to the divine. Canon law actually invites bishops to be open to things which are genuinely from God. Otherwise we're stuck in more of the same thing forevermore. How many good foundations have been blocked? How many dioceses have actually received fewer graces through ordinations not taking place that could have, because of lack of discernment and interference from diabolical sources, using perhaps weak human channels to get in the way. No one can safely discern and lead unless he is listening all the time to the Spirit of God and has a deep spiritual and interior life in which the Spirit can get through. Listening only to men is not enough. There have been also, over the centuries, even physical wars and battles which perhaps God has been fought against. In the Gospel, we have this forerunning of the Eucharistic miracle, the real presence, transubstantiation, multiplication of the bread of life over the planet, in one of these Gospels which in Eastertide is chosen to show the majesty of our King, not yet risen at this point in the Gospel, but indicating how he is Lord of all. So it is that 5,000 are fed. This miracle has reproduced itself many times in the Christian centuries, for the arm of the Lord is not shortened. Indeed, when still heading for the Protestant ministry, way back in school days, I was struck in the middle of Protestant Wales when picking up a book which happened to find itself to that library in the village. It was a book of miracles, and in it were stories which made my hair stand on end. One was what happened in 1263 in Bolsena, when this doubting priest got to the consecration and found a miracle taking place in his hands. The host began to bleed. The blood fell on the corporal and left stains on it, and even upon the marble, and that has been preserved. The following year, 1264, the precious relics were taken to a specially prepared place in Orvieto. Well, something happened years later in Orvieto. I'll come back to that in a second. In the meantime, I am struck by something which happened in a period very close to there, in Valencia, where, by the way, it is claimed that the chalice used at the Last Supper is kept, but we're not quite sure whether that is the case. In 1239, therefore the same period but slightly before, this took place. We remember that Spain was heavily attacked by the Moors, and indeed the devotion to St. James is linked with the repelling of that threat to Christian Europe. He is called Matamor, the hammer of the Moors. He appeared on the clouds, giving strength to the Christian army. Well, this happened in an area which was heavily under threat. In 1239, when the city of Valencia was under the reign of a Catholic king, Don Jaime, the Saracen king Zayn Moro decided to recapture the city with fresh troops brought from the northern states of Africa. The Catholic king learned of the Saracens' intentions, and knowing that his own troops were greatly outnumbered, he ordered an outdoor Mass to be celebrated, encouraging his soldiers to receive the Holy Eucharist together with their captains. The king assured his soldiers that if they were thus fortified, they would be able to do battle without fear and with purity on their lips. Immediately after the distribution of Holy Communion, the Saracens made a surprise attack. The priest was apparently bewildered and terrified by the sudden and fierce clash of arms. Instead of consuming the 6 remaining hosts, he placed them for safety between 2 corporals. To further ensure their safety, he quickly placed the cloths under rocks a short distance from the altar. After the battle, as the Saracen troops retreated in disgrace, the Catholic soldiers returned and knelt before the altar to give thanks to God for their decisive victory. The priest, in the meantime, attempted to locate the hosts in their hiding place, and had great difficulty in doing so, until divine inspiration finally assisted him. After recovering the cloths, he unfolded them, but was amazed to find that the 6 hosts had disappeared, leaving 6 blood stains. Wondering what motives God had had for bringing about such a miraculous occurrence, he at last decided that it was a sign of God's protection and love for the Catholic troops. The priest then took the bloodied corporals to the soldiers for their inspection and veneration. Since the Mass had been offered in the field, well outside the city of Valencia, 3 towns, Teruel, Catalayad, and Daroca, all claimed that the miracle had occurred within their jurisdictions. All 3 claimed that the holy corporals should be given to them for safekeeping. The matter was long debated until it was finally decided that the matter would be best settled by chance. All agreed that the cloths should be placed on the back of a mule, and that the animal should be allowed to wander to whichever town nature would direct it. The mule made for the lower gate of the city of Daroca. The church was soon built in Daroca as a repository for the blood-stained corporals. A mule also had an effect on me in Protestant days, because having doubts at one point about various things, I wanted to find out whether the Catholic saints had something to say about proving that God existed. I started at A in Butler's Lives of the Saints. One of the first I came across was Anthony of Padua, and therein I found that he had got this Jew who was lashing out against the Blessed Sacrament, God, the Christian God, and he got him to get his mule onto a fast and bring him to him. And he brought the Blessed Sacrament to the dumb beast and said, "Dumb beast, adore your God." The hungry animal turned his head against the bag of food that had been prepared for him, the meal, and immediately knelt before the Blessed Sacrament. Years later, I was at the same place where that happened, at Rimini. But then, not long after that, I found myself at Orvieto. At Rimini, I was not yet a priest. At Orvieto, I was. And I was able to celebrate my first Mass on my own, without a concelebrant, in an old chapel, going back to the Middle Ages, dedicated to St. Bartholomew, there. When one celebrates without one's community, without concelebrants, one is the necessary cause for consecration, The presence doesn't happen if one is not there. And I was deeply moved. I wrote this, having realized what it was to be a channel, to be a link between heaven and earth, a necessary channel. God and man at the consecration are working hand in hand. He is depending on the priest to pronounce clearly the words of consecration, and they are his words, and he's borrowing the priest's voice box. And in all the sacramental life of the Catholic Church, that same collaboration is happening. And I realized how fundamentally different our faith is from anything which has come out of us. Protestants may have a glorious career in the pulpit, but it's not the same. In the Catholic faith, God is the principal actor. Man has to pick up, not get in the way, but let him pass. Over to you, Lord. It's your church. You are Lord. First time alone in an old little church near Orvieto, Shrine of the Miracle. O Master, here at last I stand alone, with but an angel guard, and I thee call without another voice. This silent stone, laid by another age, this heavy wall, built on the faith of centuries gone by, thought not the day this miracle would hold, that we today in freshness bid here lie, in but a sound or two of magic old. O chalice of much love, where many came neath Calvary to catch the blood of God, in silence as it fell, the same, from hand to priested hand, here where have trod the feet of many that have long gone on. The change I saw not well, yet knew 'twas